And we're back. Welcome back, everyone. Craig and Jonah here today. How are you today, Jonah?
Doing pretty well. I love the new setup.
Yeah. So I hope the audio sounds better. It should. I've got a new Rodecaster, and we're trying to work out the bugs to the point where we're going to be sort of. I'm going to play some Christopher West for you guys today, so hope you enjoy that. But I couldn't get it to come through the thing, so we're just going to stick it up to my microphone and play it that way. But I think it's going to be a big upgrade. Now we're just working on getting some Father Ripperger and Christopher West sound bites that we can drop into it. So yeah, so we're real podcasters now. Only took 280 some episodes.
Just getting started.
Yeah, we got our own separate mics now. So yeah, we're really rocking and rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, what else is new with you?
Oh, I don't know. We're still getting over the sickness in our house.
Yeah, we've been dealing with that too. Just doesn't seem like it ever wants to end.
It's true. Can't wait for spring.
Yeah. So yeah, we've been just kind of plodding along and still dealing with my health issues. So that's always fun. Don't get old.
I'll tell you what, I did see something really inspirational yesterday.
Okay.
So we had a meeting at school, and afterwards there was adoration, and there's one of the teachers, isn't Catholic but Lutheran, and he was there, and the kids behaved miraculously. I think, like at the end of the day, like it was just pure quiet, and everybody sat down for adoration, even the little kids. And then they sang, "Oh, I can't," the traditional Catholic's going to hate me, but I can't remember what they sang. The Latin. There's a Latin thing during the exposition.
Oh yeah, Tantum Ergo or
whatever. Yeah. And
but they sang the English version.
Latin, and he sang it as well, and he really put himself into it. Like, I mean, it was one of the most inspiring things that as far as the guy that's not Catholic, and it's his job, he could easily just kind of like, just go through the motions, but it looked like he was actually praying and involved, and it was super inspirational to me, honestly. It made me tear up. Like, I'm serious.
But we had one of the other teachers came in. She wasn't Catholic. Because we're a small Catholic school, it's very hard to find teachers, and so you end up kind of getting people that just graduated looking for a job, and sometimes you just have to take someone who can teach even if they don't share the faith. But she became Catholic. They still have to go to daily mass with the kids and all that kind of stuff. So give them time.
Yeah,
that's great.
It was great. I don't know. I had a whole different level of respect for the guy.
That's great. I like our little Catholic school.
Definitely.
So, okay. Well, it's been a little while since we gave our good old friend Christopher West some attention. I think we're overdue. Fortunately or unfortunately, his most recent episode is packed. Like, the whole thing is worthy of reaction.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if we're going to be able to get to all of them, but I wanted to play. They have 3 questions. They usually ramble and chat at the beginning, and then they answer 3 listener questions. This is how I posed my question to him about the harms of other acts. I think that was episode 164, 165, somewhere in there. If I think of it, Andy put a link to those below. But these questions I thought were interesting, and in some ways a little bit related. So we're going to play the question, maybe the initial response, and then we'll see what our response would be to these questions, because as you might expect, it's a little different than Christopher West might say. All right?
All right.
So bear with me. I apologize. This is going to be a little bit clunky, but this is the only way I can figure out how to do it.
My husband and I have been married for a few months. We both love the Lord and each other very much and strive for sanctity. Coming into marriage, I had a lot of TOB background and was very familiar with the concept of the marriage bed being a deeply intimate place where the graces of our sacrament flow. It is holy ground.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
Very early into our marriage, we discovered that I have a much higher sex drive than my husband.
Oh, gosh.
And he struggles with erectile dysfunction. This has been incredibly difficult for me.
Mm, mm.
Not only does it strictly limit how we make love, but it also makes me feel like something is wrong with me, that I desire sex and want to express and receive love in that way. I feel foolish and rejected when
Oh.
I want to have sex and he does not.
What's he doing in the
My
background?
husband assures me with his words that he is attracted to me, but it is so hard for me when his body does not respond in the same way. I feel unattractive, not desirable.
Oh.
No one ever speaks about the woman having a higher sex drive, and this makes me feel even more alone and like an outcast.
Mm.
How do I learn to fully love my husband through these difficulties while still mourning the fact that this is so much harder for us than a typical couple?
Bless, 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 bless. I feel so honored, Wendy, and privileged that people entrust such tender, intimate questions to us that,
Mm-hmm.
my gosh, what an honor. I feel like we're given diamonds. You know, it's just that
Which are hard,
people
unlike
open
your
their
husband's.
hearts and their real,
Yeah.
Sorry.
their real struggles, especially when they feel like they don't know where to turn. I just feel like we're given gems.
Mm-hmm.
So I hold those gems, the gems of your story, the gems of your suffering, the gems of your heart.
Your
I hold
husband's
them with great
gems.
reverence.
I'm holding him tightly.
I want to zoom in on this expression higher sex drive, because I think there's another way to view that
Of course there is.
idea of higher sex drive.
Yeah.
That we are called to raise our sex drive higher.
I don't think that's the solution.
The whole reason God has created us with erotic longings, with erotic desires, that longing for communion, is to lead us to the heights. That's the right word, to the heights of what the mystics and the saints call nuptial union with love eternal.
That isn't going to help her. Viagra might help her husband, but oh my goodness, that poor guy.
They've been married like 3 months.
Did I miss that? Or
Yeah.
okay.
I,
I wasn't sure if
I believe she said it was they've been married like literally a few months.
I wasn't sure if I was just distracted by the moaning of Christopher West during the question.
I think I cut that little bit off at the beginning, but 3 months. And you're already having to turn to Christopher West for advice. That's just not ideal.
Did they say how old the guy is?
No.
Or how old she is?
No.
I mean,
I don't think so.
they have medications for it. I don't know what the real issue is here. Like, will he not go to the doctor or what?
Well,
I'll tell you what. If I had that issue and my wife is like, I am just so horny all the time, I would find a way to fix it at any cost.
I wonder what Christopher West thinks about that stuff.
Or is it unnatural? Should you just suffer through this?
He goes on to talk about suffering because, of course, that's the catch-all. Well, this is what a great opportunity you have here to suffer.
When really,
3 months into your marriage, you get to pull out the suffering card and justify how different this was than you were expected and told before you got married.
go to the doctor and really have a probably amazing marriage, at least during this time. And you get bogged down with the rest of life and having kids and all that, or you just suffer even more.
That's basically what we told him.
So he did not go into Viagra.
So he, just so you know, he rambled. Well, they ramble on for about 20 minutes here, so I'm not going to play all of that. I mean, we can, but
No, that's fine.
But he just goes on and on about this. You're tasting the cross, and this is your lot in life, and whatever. Now he acknowledged that there may be some physiological issues, obviously physiological issues going on with her husband that can be remedied. But a few things that stood out to me, and I'm probably going to piss off the women in the audience. There's those 2 or 3 of you that look,
Both of you.
both of you. Yep. So just forgive me. So this woman is 3 months in her marriage. She has a higher sex drive than her husband, and she feels rejected because her husband doesn't want to have sex as much as she wants.
That's like welcome to the club. Now you know what it's like to be a man.
That was my first reaction. I'm like, well, welcome to what most men experience their entire marriages.
She could be an ambassador. Man.
Maybe.
God gave her a special role in life, and that
Yeah.
is to preach the sort of thing to other women. I guess, maybe.
I waited 20 years to start a podcast. He went on Fifth or West within 3 months,
More motivated than you.
I guess. Not to downplay what she's going through, but I'm just like you're,
Yeah, I've been there. The thing is that she's lucky though, because I think technically, according to the real strict interpretation of the rules, perhaps they could use some sort of toy or something like that, and then he could try.
I would think so.
I mean, because they don't know for sure it won't happen. You know, it's not like they're intending for it.
Well, what if he can't finish the right way?
Well, but if you can give up sometimes, I don't know. There's nothing that says he has to try.
I bet you ask the Ellens of the world, if you go into it knowing that you're not going to be able to complete the marital act, you probably shouldn't do it.
We should send this one to Christopher West.
There you go.
Can we do this?
If you know,
put it in.
Yeah. If you know there's a strong likelihood you're not going to be able to complete the marital act, can you go through with it?
Well, I don't even know if you need to phrase it that way. Just if we put the penis in the V, is that sufficient? You know, or do we have to try until it works?
I mean, seems to me that ought to be sufficient. I agree. I mean, but
gosh, and then I just can't imagine a guy that wouldn't try to get that fixed.
And maybe will. Sounds like it could be a stressful environment for that guy.
There is some pressure to perform.
Performance problems. There's another person that has reached out to me that had a similar experience.
Oh.
The new wife was ready to go and enjoying things, and the husband had some problems along the way, and which is not normally how it goes, I think, for most of us. But yeah. So your point about her concerns, I mean, that was my first reaction. Is like, well, welcome to how most husbands feel when, I mean, and I'm not saying her feelings are unfounded. Maybe they are, but I know what it's like to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually the roles are reversed. Usually, especially once you have kids, the man's desire stays high, and for a lot of women, the desire goes way down after childbirth and all that.
So they just need to find a way to have at least one kid, and then it'll all balance out.
Yeah, they can be equally miserable together. So that
just the way marriage is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that, I mean, no, so I have some thoughts about, I mean, I'm curious what went in, what this gentleman's history is. I mean, unless they're like very old, which I would think you would mention, I think they were in their 40s or something like that. Seems like something she would mention, but maybe not. But I mean, I have heard, I mean, I know that vaginismus is a problem for a lot of women that grow up kind of in that purity culture thing.
Mm-hmm.
They're so tense. They've just grown up accustomed to despising sex or being fearful of it, that when they can do it, their body has a hard time giving them a green light. I think, I don't know, maybe in some men experience the same way. Now,
I'm skeptical of that.
I have heard, I'm not saying this is what happened here, but I've heard stories of men in purity culture environments who have grown up unable to control the solo, but knowing that porn is very wrong. And so they develop some habits where they just apply a lot of pressure to themselves to accomplish the solo and develop some bad habits that don't translate well into the real experience.
When you say apply a lot of pressure, what are you talking about?
They got to grip it tight.
Oh,
They have to grip it tight to make it
okay.
happen without
No kidding.
some visual stimulation.
Hmm.
So
Well, I don't know.
I know from I've read stories of men especially that have had those struggles that can create some performance issues in the marital bedroom. No idea if
You
that's
enjoy reading those stories?
I don't really enjoy any of this stuff, quite honestly, but someone has to do it.
I don't know that, or you hear about people that are guys that watch porn too frequently, and then
Well, that's another possibility. It could be that this guy has some porn problems in his past, maybe not his past.
it's true.
Good luck to that guy if that's what's going on.
Yeah,
if
the
he
age is
finds out.
important.
Yeah.
I don't know.
uh,
Well,
I don't like the fact that the initial reaction is, okay, well, welcome to Catholic suffering. Let me explain to you how awesome it is you're going through this, rather than, well, let's see, this isn't normal. You guys have a good problem in that she has high desire from the beginning. So it seems like fixing his problem ought to be not that difficult, right?
You have a fairly rare problem.
Yeah.
I think it's
So it's like,
reasonably treatable.
right. So I think we need to, maybe address those, but he doesn't really do that. So I after listening to the rest of the 20 minutes or so, I thought to myself, I'm not sure what anything I just told this couple is all that helpful. Especially this early on. You're 3 months in. Like if it goes on for 5 years, okay, maybe this is a cross, but maybe we got to focus on fixing it rather than trying to martyr yourself through it.
He lost me with his what seems like inauthentic, over the top reaction, and he gets into gems and diamonds and all kinds of stuff there. I don't know how people take that seriously, to be honest.
Yeah. Anyway,
Not saying what he said is incorrect, but just I think his delivery.
To me, that is not good advice for a newly married couple 3 months in that did all the right things, saved themselves from marriage, and they're like, well, this didn't turn out. I mean, I think that's actually pretty common. I think it's really common for Catholics to be like, well, this isn't quite as, what were we waiting for? What we were, but so I don't know. To me, I would have, you can go listen to I'll link to his podcast below, but they go on for a long time, but that, you can just imagine what his lecture involved. Not a lot of practical helpful stuff.
Technically, that might be valid reason for an annulment, right?
Oh, yeah.
You really want to get down to the brass tacks there.
I think if you can never do it, my impression is that, I guess I didn't get the impression that he can never do it, but maybe it's, I don't know, touch and go sometimes. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, if he literally can never, I mean, it probably is grounds for an annulment.
I don't know. I do feel bad for her.
Yeah, I feel bad for both of them, and I feel bad that I think going to Christopher West for advice is probably not going to get you out of the problem you have unless you start to love suffering really early. So
I don't know.
anyway,
It feels like the problem is treatable more than likely, no matter how old the guy is.
yeah. So
Get him on TRT and
Yeah.
Viagra if we got to, and
maybe that's what we need. We need a UCM supplement shop. Terrorists may make that impossible now, but
well, we'll bring it back to the manufacturing back to the US of A.
tariff-free seahorse grounds here. So, okay,
All right.
ready for another question?
I can't wait.
Yeah, I bet you can't. So let me just fast forward.
I am surprised he's that popular. I mean, I'm not saying, that he doesn't give good advice. Probably that more sound than our advice. But I don't know.
I know. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. You guys think Christopher West is a better authority or us? No. Be objective. All right, here we go. Here's question 2.
Hi, Christopher and Wendy. This podcast is so applicable to right here and right now. And it was like finding treasure when I came across it a few months ago.
Oh, that's great.
I now find myself with not only more answers, but more questions as well. There's a woman in my life whom I've dated on and off for a few years. I feel a strong pull toward her. It's as if each time I'm around her, I feel a type of home that I've never felt before.
Love that.
This has
a genuine
unfortunately
reaction.
led to us falling into sexual sin together
Don't love that.
many times. We frequent reconciliation together and separately.
Love that.
Together and separately? Like the joint confession? Anyway, I think I know what they meant.
Yeah.
Times each month. And this only makes me love her more. My question is, if God does ultimately want us to be married, will having experienced this level of intimacy prior to marriage be a detriment to us as a husband, a wife, a father, and a mother? I'm afraid I may have ruined a beautiful thing.
Benjamin, if it were just up to you and you had no ability to avail yourself of the grace of redemption, we sin ruins stuff. That's what sin does. It ruins things. Here's the good news of the gospel, my brother. What we have ruined through our sin, Christ has come into the world to restore, and not only restore in its previous measure, but redemption affords us something even greater than what could have existed had we not sinned. Now, St. Paul.
Okay. Actually, I'm not going to go into the I really wanted to pose the question more than his answer. What did you think of, what was your reaction to that question?
I don't know what I would say. I mean, it's difficult for me to get into the theological and philosophical commentary regarding whether or not it harms the relationship. I mean, I don't know.
It does remind me of our question to him about other acts in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the harm? That was the question to him. Well, of course it causes harm because it's immoral. Well, I mean, I don't know that it always causes harm, and I don't know that you've shown that it even causes harm at any time, but okay. It's a little, it's probably a little harder to dispute what he says when it comes to, let's say, premarital stuff. But I don't, how do I want to say this?
If they intend to get married, it's a different story. It's not like they're just out randomly having encounters with people.
So let me just say this in the least heretical way I can. Okay. I think there are definite, let's just set aside moral. I think there are definite practical benefits to saving yourself for marriage.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I think I would encourage people to do that. That being said, there are practical consequences to saving yourself for marriage. Perhaps the problem's a question number 1. This is the part of the, and of course we're not allowed to talk about it because, well, these are intrinsically wrong things. You can't talk about it. But I mean, there is a price, a real practical price paid in the marriage to being completely hands off each other until the wedding night.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, you're kind of setting yourself up for a difficult wedding night.
Yeah.
Not that that's wrong, or
I mean,
like it shouldn't be like that.
Yeah, I mean, you are each other's first encounter, first time. You don't know what you're doing. I think for a lot of people, it's not necessarily super enjoyable, pleasurable, especially for the wife until you kind of figure things out a little bit. and I'm not encouraging people to explore things prior to marriage, but I it, I think we can at least acknowledge that um, some exploration. Uh,
Especially once, I mean, well,
yeah, I
it's complicated.
I know
Man. I know.
it's so hard to talk about it because you're immediately telling people, you get accused of leading people into sin. Um, I just think I think it's fine for Christopher West to say. I think if we just said, look, this is what the church teaches. No um, sexual interactions of any sort before marriage, fine. But I don't think you get the. I don't. I think once you say, and oh, by the way, that's definitely going to harm your future relationship. I think that's where you open the door to criticism, because I think that concept is worthy of at least some discussion and criticism.
Man, that's a great perspective. So true.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying. I'm like, well, if you want to say this is what church teaches, follow it. Fine. I'm not going to quibble with you, but I think we need to stop pretending that our moral values perfectly correspond to everyday life, and doing things that are sinful or are also going to cause harm and damage. I think there's plenty of examples where doing the right thing is very damaging to your marriage, whether it's long-term abstinence, trying to use NFP, having
Mhm.
kids that you're not really ready to have or whatever. I definitely don't think it's obvious that every time a couple uses contraception, regardless of circumstances, it's damaging to their marriage. Now, immoral, fine, but I don't think you get. I don't think you just get to say, "Oh yeah, that's always going to harm your marriage and whatever." I mean, maybe it can, but I think it's pretty demonstrably untrue. It always causes damage to your marriage, and I think there's plenty of marriages that um, are worse off because they're following the rules than if they adjusted it. Now, maybe that's the way it is. Maybe it's just all supposed to be a cross and suffering, whatever. But at least let's just at least acknowledge that the rules that we're told to follow can be very, very harmful and damaging to marriages, and maybe that's the way it is. But let's not sugarcoat that.
Yeah, I think the real advice is, go to confession as often as you need to and just try your best
Yep.
until you get married.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. That stuff is tough.
It
I
just-
don't know what because you look at how many people get pregnant before they get married, even though they're engaged.
Yep.
And this stuff happens.
Yep. So, and I don't know. I mean, there's something exciting about having this relationship with this person, and um, I mean, stuff happens, and I know plenty of. Let me put it this way. I know plenty of people who cross some lines, myself included, cross some lines that Christopher West would not have approved, that not only didn't harm the marriage, probably helped us in the long run.
Gonna go on record.
That's as far as I'll go.
Yeah.
So take that for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's do the third question, because I think this one is particularly interesting.
Our next question is from an anonymous listener. Christopher and Wendy, thank you so much for your podcast. It is a soothing balm to my heart. Your tender love for each other and clarity on the church's teachings are a great witness to me.
So before I go any further, you think this is a man or a woman?
Woman.
Okay.
The
I have a
soothing
question
balm gave it
about
away.
healing from a spouse's porn use and rebuilding trust. My husband grew up being told that looking at porn was normal. And it wasn't until we were dating in 12th grade that he ever even spoke to someone about how it might be damaging to him. I remember him telling me how heartbroken he was when he found porn on his dad's laptop as a young teen. Despite his parents telling him it was normal, it's always been written on his heart that it isn't normal.
Beautiful.
Or healthy.
Wow.
He fought hard through our engagement to end his porn use. But it has come back a few times through our marriage.
Now just listen carefully here.
Okay.
Just listen here.
marriage, especially in seasons of postpartum. I've never caught him looking at porn. Anytime I found out has been after weeks or months of him viewing it again and deciding he's done and then telling me. At this point, it's been over 2 years since his last relapse, but I'm now 3 weeks postpartum with our third child and feeling very sensitive and nervous it will happen again. Our sex life outside of these seasons is so good. He's so respectful and caring and sensitive to me and loves me so tenderly. It sort of baffles me when he falls back into it again. I'm starting to wonder if this will be a lifelong cross in our marriage. Is there any chance of moving forward and experiencing real healing?
Bless you, my dear sister. The immediate answer to that final question, is there any chance of moving forward and experiencing real healing?
He says no. No. He says yes. He says yes. All right. Reactions.
Well, you know, the postpartum time is very difficult. Porn has never been an issue for me, so I can't really speak to that. But the postpartum time is really difficult, and like for us, the postpartum time seemed to last for a long time because she was breastfeeding and not really in the mood, and that was the. But
So this is what's I always find fascinating about, like, the answer seems kind of like staring them right in the face here, and they just kind of totally miss it, right? I mean, and it's so hard to talk about the porn issue because, like, literally, I got into a fight on Twitter last night. A woman came out and says, "Yeah, if you're a porn, you're just I'll never date a guy that's ever used porn or something like that." I'm like, well, good luck with that.
Amish, that where she's going.
Yeah.
Even though
They're not even immune.
There's magazines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to, like, I mean, it's such an easy target. It's an easy punching bag to beat up the guys that deal with it. And I think the statistics are, you cover a long enough time frame, a large majority of men are going to encounter it at some point in time.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, most women don't struggle with it. And I would say a lot of women don't struggle at all. Like, it's not even a temptation.
Romance novels.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's
I know it's a little different, but not really.
right. But actual visual porn, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that most men struggle or are tempted by that much more than women. Just like it's pretty obvious that men and women tend to have very different sex drives and get different things out of it. So you will so there's like two big groups of people that will always come out about porn. It's women, or it's men that are former addicts that are out to beat up everyone. And I get it. Like, I'm not encouraging porn use at all. Like, I'm not.
Mhm.
But and it can be very damaging. Like, stay away from it. Like, it's not good for you. It's
Totally
not going
agree.
to help you. But I also understand why it happens and when it happens. And I think a lot of good men have very good relationships with their wives. The rest of the time that you're vulnerable is when abstinence happens for a period of time.
And sometimes men do really stupid things
Yeah.
in that situation.
Isn't it, like, does anyone ask, like, why does the devil wait till postpartum? Like, and why does he attack men and not women? Like, there is a physiological component to this that I think is much more at play than the spiritual.
Mhm.
There's something about a man's brain that enjoys that. And there is something that happens to a man's body when he is abstaining for a period of time that I think most women don't experience, especially a postpartum woman probably is like, that's the last thing on her mind. doesn't go off your husband's mind.
Mhm.
And especially, I think, so it seems pretty obvious to me why men are going to be most vulnerable during the postpartum period. Well, what's going on during the postpartum period? Well, you can't do anything for weeks, months, maybe sometimes longer than that. And I'm not giving the guy a pass, but I think they're overreacting to the situation. I mean, if this guy has truly kicked the habit and is able to manage that without issue, when him and his wife can have a normal functioning intimate relationship, and then when that goes off the rails, that's what it happens. Like, I just think, calm down. Now, here's where here's the price to be paid, if you will, by, let's say, the conservative stance. Let's say maybe this is the official stance, that the couple can't do anything else sexually other than the conjugal act. I posted about this on Twitter yesterday. Like, this is the real issue. Is um let's say the husband and wife could do other things during the postpartum. They can't come together fully, but they can do other things. Um I bet that would eliminate a lot of,
It might solve the problem.
might solve the problem, right? And I'm not saying that we need to adopt that solution, but I think we need to acknowledge that this is an effect of this rule, this standard.
And is porn worse than other acts in that case? I would say it is.
I would sure think so. I think even Christopher West would say that, although he may say they're just so
Both
bad.
equal. So them being equal,
Yeah.
creates a problem too.
So that I think, this is why I think the ship has sailed on the whole contraception issue, and personally, I don't think that is the solution. Contraception doesn't help you during the postpartum period,
Mhm.
right? That's not the barrier. Uh, but I really do think that if the church had a little more permissive approach to what this loving married couple can do intimately when the conjugal act is not available, I believe personally could solve, if not eliminate, a ton of these kinds of problems, solo issues, porn issues.
Secret.
Yeah. And by definition, and kind of getting back to what I was talking about on Twitter, what man is going to tell his wife? Like, what does he say? He doesn't tell her when it's happening. He waits until thinks he's done.
And that's pretty brave. Like, why even tell her? To be
Yeah.
honest,
Right.
that should be between
Right.
you and the confessor.
But-
I mean, that if I was going to talk to the man, I don't know. I'm not saying to keep secrets from your wife, but
Yeah.
you're opening a can of worms, and she's not going to understand.
But this is what happens. I think guys struggle with these things, and until they feel like they have stopped it, are not going to tell their wife, if they tell her at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so they struggle alone, because I think they can predict, if I tell my wife, oh, by the way, I'm in the midst of a porn relapse, I suspect that the reaction that he's going to get is not going to be all that helpful. And so he's going to be like, this is my problem. And I'm not saying he should share that burden on his wife, but if he's going to be met with a lot of hostility and judgment, you can bet that he's not going to share that with her, and he's going to try to muscle his way through dealing with himself. And I think for a lot of guys, that just means they never get over it.
Mm-hmm.
They have pauses between relapses or something like that.
And to her point about whether this will be an ongoing problem for them
Every time they have kids, maybe.
maybe when they have kids, not after menopause. I don't know.
I mean, I suspect I think any man is at risk for this, but I think any man that has a history of it is, I think, always going to be vulnerable to relapsing, and because it is so easy to access, it is so when I would say, like, you get such an enjoyment out of that, that it just takes a moment of weakness,
Mhm.
and it can happen. And in there are going to be periods in your life, even if it's not postpartum, maybe you're just fighting or whatever, you're at odds with each other. I mean, truth be told, not only is it postpartum, but if the husband feels like he is not loved for whatever reason,
Yep, that could cause it.
that's when he's very vulnerable.
Absolutely. Man, you're on point today.
So men, there's a reason why men seek that out, or there's a reason why men fail to say no in certain periods of time. It's not to justify it, and it's not to blame the circumstances causing it. It's simply to recognize that they exist.
And there's a reason Thomas Aquinas said that prostitutes were a necessary evil in society. And that is something that if I could ask him one question, it would
Yeah.
be why he thought that.
Yeah,
Because, I mean, it clearly relates to this.
yeah, I think that's right. And wouldn't it be better to blur the lines with your wife than to go out and do that?
Mhm.
I know we're not supposed to say that. I know Christopher West will never let you say that, but it's just hard not to at least ask that kind of question.
I wish we had the Christopher West sound effect there. I can just hear him
Yeah,
wishing away.
yeah. That by next week, I'll be able to push a button and he'll be able to screech in horror.
Oh, that poor guy.
Heresy alarm.
Heresy alarm.
So anyway, I just, are any of those, and again, he doesn't say any of that. Like all the stuff that we talked about, he's gonna focus on, of course, it's wrong for him to do that, which yes, it is. But he never addresses the underlying reality of why it happens. I mean, could he just say, look, um, here's what I would say. If I were him, if I were not recording something, I would say, your husband, if it's true, if he is able to avoid all this every time but postpartum, I think you ought to just give him some grace and realize he's accomplished a lot already, given his history.
Mhm.
And the fact that he's telling you, I think,
Oh,
tells you he's quite a guy. So
definitely.
I would be like, go easy on him if you can, because I think you have a really good man here who is a man that is fallen or limited or flawed or however you want to say it, and just love him and realize, no, this is not the norm. If the only time this happens is when you guys got to be completely abstaining for a period of time, then um that's just going to be a season.
Mhm.
And support, I think if she supports him in that, I think it's far more likely that he's going to be able to weather these storms in the future better.
Mhm.
Otherwise, if if it's his own secret problem that he can't talk about with her, um, it's going to keep coming up.
It's true. There is a ton of loneliness that occurs postpartum.
Oh yeah,
And so
yeah,
there's a fix for that, but it's difficult.
yeah. So anyway,
Man, you're on fire today.
yeah,
Those are really good answers.
seems like it might be a little more useful information than what he is saying, and maybe he's got to say that. But I just, it's hard for me. I mean, these are all pretty, I would say, foreseeable and common situations, and I think that the polite Catholic media doesn't always give the best
Mhm.
answers to people, and I wish they could hear a little bit of what we talk about.
Christopher West should be concerned about you, man. You give great answers. Those are really useful answers.
Let us know what you think. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think we might do a more regular Christopher. I think actually doing a Christopher West reaction is not a bad thing, because that's sort of, that's what people hear, and well, let's talk about the rest of the story.
The reality of it.
Yeah, that's what we try to do here. I think that's what makes us very unique, for better or for worse. I'm not saying it makes us better, but it makes us unique.
We're authentic, at least.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
all right.
All right.
Okay. Well, Thank you for everyone. Thank you, Christopher West, for giving us great content. Thank you for what I think he's a sincere guy. I would love to have a conversation with him. Maybe we can sit in the studio with him and Matt Fradd sometime. And
It's funny, you know, like there are points, like there are sometimes where he responds authentically, like
Yeah.
you can tell.
Yeah.
But then there's sometimes where he's just totally fake.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt, that is an act.
yeah, yeah. There's no acting here.
Nope, not at all.
So maybe I hope that we can at least. I mean, I hear from people all the time. They're like, I was kind of at my wit's end, and then found you guys, and I at least realized I'm not alone, and all this. And yes, you are not alone. And that's what we're here for. So,
And if you're new, get on the Discord. Like
Mhm.
I don't always respond, but I read it, and it's amazing. The community that we have built is just incredible.
yeah, if you're not in our Discord community, and if you don't know what Discord is like a kind of it's a closed environment. It's kind of a combination between a Facebook group and Reddit. You can go in and create an anonymous profile, and the stuff that we talk about gets discussed all the time, and I would say even much more transparent levels. So if you feel like you just don't have a place where you can talk and just like we're not gonna delete your posts and stuff like happens over in Catholic Reddit. We'll let you talk. Join our Discord. So just send us a message. Our email is in the description below. Send us a message. We'll let you in because it's a really special place.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for listening to that. Thank you, Jonah.
Yep, thank you.
And until
Trust in
next time.
God's mercy.
Until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.